I'm concerned, I love Paul, I love Marisol, but Veronica, you stole that. You stole that scene, and you are the part. But I think back on Chris's CEO, that was easily my favorite scene over any of them. That particular scene, because it just, I don't know, there was just something about the way it all worked, and they did not upstage you at all. You were center stage, and you owned it. You owned that scene. So very, very good. Very good on you. That was really neat. And I remember thinking that when I was watching it, I was just like, wow, this girl definitely has what it takes to continue and really be a major player as you continue to get more experience. So, and as you get older. So I want to welcome you to another episode of Media from the Heart. My name is Ruth Hill, and I'm your host. And today I have the star of Christmas CEO, a very special movie that Hallmark premiered last year during their Countdown to Christmas movie celebration. But it's not the two leads. Oh, no. Veronica Marin-Estrada. She played the lovely supporting cast member. I mean, she was amazing. You might remember her as the girl who stole the show and played this amazing guitar song, sang it, all this kind of stuff. It was amazing. It was fantastic. Well, it just so happens that some time ago, I was able to have a chat with her, and it was amazing. As you can imagine, Veronica is incredible. She has two incredible parents I've gotten to know as well. But today, this was Veronica's chance to shine. So I want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the wonder, the amazement. Veronica. Enjoy. I want to welcome all of you to another episode of Media from the Heart. My name is Ruth Hill, and I am your host. And today I am so excited. Okay, probably always excited to have a new podcast. But in this case, I have a young person with me. She's very active in the film industry and many other things as well. But I am so excited because she's actually my first young person to bring on my podcast. I've been interviewing young people for a long time in this business, but she's the first young person to bring on my podcast. So this is Veronica Marin-Estrada, and it is so nice to have you here. And I want to read I have a fantastic little bio to read about her by way of introduction. Veronica Marin-Estrada is a grade 8 student from Munns Public School in Oakville, Ontario. She debuted this past holiday season in the Hallmark movie Chris's CEO in the role of Emma, a spark in the story that promises to bring joy, drama, and comedy to the whole family, which it certainly did. Veronica sings, plays the guitar, and acts. She is an eloquent, spontaneous, and active teen within her local arts community. She started her performing career by participating in theatrical roles when she was a toddler and got her first commercial when she was 4 years old. In her debut film, Chris's CEO, she got to act along with Marisol Nichols, who I absolutely love, and Paul Greene, who happens to be my employer. Both were very supportive and inspiring, along with the director, Jonathan Wright. Veronica's family is thrilled with this opportunity that she got. Like her, they understand the need of young teens to have the support to help them in the performing path. Veronica Marin-Estrada was born in the USA while her Venezuelan parents were assigned to career projects in California. As in the movie, the balancing act of business and personal life changed the family path, making them choose the Greater Toronto area as their new home and country. The family is very active in collecting, packing, and shipping carrying boxes for families and children in Venezuela. When Veronica's parents asked her how she felt about her first movie experience, her answer was, "I can't see myself doing anything else." That is absolutely fabulous, Veronica. I love this bio. When your mom sent it to me, I was so excited to get to read it because I saw so many great things in it. But I love the fact that you said you cannot see yourself doing anything else, because that is what actors will say. They'll always say, what's your advice to young people? We'll ask them who want to enter film and TV. They'll say, well, we want to make sure that they really want to do it. So if they can see themselves doing anything else, they should go do something else. But if all you can do is act, it's all you can do is entertainment and the arts, then go for it. So that is fantastic, and I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Good. I'm so glad, and it was really interesting. So the thing that I discovered that I didn't know, of course, there's probably a lot of things, but you actually were born in the USA, and your parents are Venezuelan.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So do you know, other than I know your parents came from Venezuela to California for some career opportunities, but so are you able to tell us a little more about their journey, about why they came to the US?
Yeah, well, I don't actually know the full story, obviously, because I was like literally a year old. But I do know that when I was like a lot younger, we did a lot of moving around. There's my dad has been working at the same company since like right after I was born. So there's always been a lot of moving around, but I think that's just part of my journey, I guess. And I always love learning more about how my parents came here. It's always very interesting.
Oh, that's cool. And the fact that you ended up in Toronto, because see, I'll be honest, before I read all that and really got into doing my research about you, I assumed that your family was, that you were born in Canada. I just had that assumption. And so what was the reason? So was it because of all the things that you were doing in film and TV and commercials? Is that what brought you to Toronto?
I think it was just the community here, especially in being Hispanic, there's not a lot of us. Well, there wasn't a lot of us, but in Toronto and in the GTA area, we started my parents started meeting more and more people from our community. And I think that's what really drew us here. Also because of the amount of different cultures in the GTA that I get to learn about and be surrounded by growing up. I think that's very important.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that is true, because I'm thinking I've not been to Toronto. Now I've been to Vancouver, and in Vancouver, this has been a few years, but I didn't really see a lot of Hispanics that were in that area. So it's kind of interesting. You don't typically think of Canada as a place where there's a lot of Hispanics, but that's interesting to hear. So in Toronto, there is more of a Hispanic community now. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and also especially because in Toronto, the lifestyle was very similar to California, the city and all that, and it was also quite similar to it was the same time zone as Venezuela, so we could also talk to our family without having to worry about like, oh, they're actually asleep right now. That was always very important to us, family as well.
Okay. So then, do you speak both English and Spanish?
I do. I speak English, Spanish, and French.
Oh, and French too. Wait a minute. So you're in 8th grade and you speak 3 languages?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. That is so impressive, Veronica. I mean, I know there's a lot more things that we could be impressed about, but just thinking of, because that's not a typical thing for, I'm thinking of the US. It's not a typical thing. A lot of times young people here don't even take a language until they get to high school. My daughter, who's now in college, didn't take a language until she took French in high school, but she didn't take any languages before that. Same here. I took French when I was in high school, and so it's not the typical thing. But how cool that is! 3 languages. Okay. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Well,
amazing.
in Canada, it's very common for schools to actually be French immersion from first grade. And actually, when I was in California, when I was in kindergarten, I started taking French classes just for fun. So that also kind of influenced the languages that I learned.
I'm sorry. I'm only laughing. I took French classes for fun in kindergarten. That's no, I'm just learning so much about you. I mean, no wonder you are far beyond your years. You communicate so well, and you have such a delightful personality. And I wanted to point this out. The thing that impressed me when we were setting this up is that you were thinking about me when you set the time. No, and this means a lot, honestly. When your mom said, "Well, I don't want her to have to get up too early, so let's do it 10 o'clock her time." I'm like, how cool is that? It's like I'm always doing my best to adapt my schedule to the needs of my guests, and how cool that you were thinking about me. So I just wanted to say that I really did appreciate that very, very much. So thank you. So your first commercial was when you were 4 years old. Is that right?
Yes.
What do you remember about that commercial, if anything?
I remember being very nervous. I'm generally a very shy person. I know it doesn't really come up in interviews, but I am a pretty shy person. And so I was only 4 years old. I was like thrown into this completely white room with a single stool, and there was just a lady asking me questions about, I think it was about like a creative idea to conserve water or like stop water pollution. And I was 4 years old, so I was like, maybe it's like underwater butterflies or something. But all I remember is being like extremely nervous, and my mom being like, don't worry, and me being like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay, well, that's actually pretty cool, though. And that's neat that you remember that much, because sometimes I'll interview young people and they don't remember their first experience that much. So, but what I do find interesting is, so you say you're typically shy, and I think it's interesting because so many actors that I have interviewed would describe themselves that way. It's a typical thing of, I think, the creative type person. We tend to think, oh, well, they're outgoing and they love to be around people and they love to do this, and yet so many of them are just like you. They kind of like to keep to themselves. Not that they are, not creative people. Often they don't mind being around people, but it's just they're not always super outgoing. We tend to think that all of them are outgoing. So I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah.
So your first movie, of course, was Christmas CEO, which which most of us, I don't know if everybody's seen it here, but they've heard us at least talk about it, and hopefully most of us have seen it. So how did it come about that you had the opportunity to do this movie? What was the story behind that?
Yeah, well, I got the audition the day after I got rejected from a theater company that I really wanted to get into. And I was really sad. My parents were like looking at other theater companies that they thought I would like. And then I got this audition for a Hallmark movie. And at first I was a little skeptical because I was like, oh, I don't really watch Hallmark movies. I'm not sure how I would do in something like that. But I did the audition. My best friend actually helped me film it. And then my dad was actually in the car. He was like dropping my brother off at like a play date or something. And he got a call from my agent, and she was, well, obviously he picked it up. He was in the middle of like a work meeting, but my agent never calls us unless it's something super important. So he picked it up and she was like, is Veronica there? And she told him I got the part. And then the whole thing of like, well, you got to move to Ottawa, you got to do all these things. And I was really excited, but I was just like, I don't know how it's going to go. I've never been on a movie set. I've never done anything outside of where I live. I didn't know who the cast was. I literally did not know a single thing about this movie except for the role that I would be playing. But once I finally got to meet the cast, it was like everything clicked, and I was so over the moon about it.
Exactly. Well, so that's interesting. I think you were, I will speak to this. I think that your thing about Hallmark movies, that's got to be something hard. I know that that's hard in Canada because sometimes the Hallmark movies don't make their way to Canada. I mean, how is it? Most of the movies that we see on the Hallmark channel here in the States are filmed in Canada, somewhere in Canada, but not all of them always make their way to the Canadian TV as easily. It's a little bit different. They're making changes, I know, but I can understand you. I think, oh, do I want to be in a Hallmark movie? Because I don't watch Hallmark. So I totally get that. What about your parents? Were your parents familiar with Hallmark movies?
Yeah, well, my mom is currently nodding. She's like, yes, absolutely. Not sure about my dad, but my parents were really excited. I think it's just the fact that like I've been doing acting since like properly acting since I was about 10 years old. So it was like 3 years of me just doing audition after audition after audition. And I finally got something. I think they were just more excited about the fact that I would be working on something. And I think it really didn't matter what it was as long as I enjoyed doing it.
Right, exactly. So you had to you had to relocate for like 3 weeks to Ottawa. Is that right?
Yeah, for about a month I was in Ottawa.
A month. Okay. So it was you and your mom, basically, is that right? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And so was that your first time to be in Ottawa?
I'd been to Ottawa before a couple times. When we went there for like a proper vacation, I was really young, but my mom had gone there for some work things. So I'd been there, but I'd never really gone to that many places there, if you could say. So it was really exciting to like see how everything works in Ottawa. Like it's really different from where I live. I live in like the suburbs. Ottawa's like an actual city. But it was really exciting. I really enjoyed it there. We actually went back for during New Year's, and it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
Well, that's exciting. So you've been doing acting. Had you taken acting classes then, or not?
Yeah, I had been doing acting classes at this acting school in Toronto, Talent Inc., and they have a showcase in every February. And I'd gone to their most recent showcase. They didn't have one last year because of COVID, all that. But I'd gone to their most recent showcase after taking about like maybe 6 months of classes. That's where I met my agent. And then I continue taking most of their classes. And I'm actually going to be doing their showcase this June, which is exciting.
Okay. All right. Well, but it must have been really something. What was it like going that first day to the movie set?
It was very nerve-wracking. I did not know how anything worked. I had like learned from the classes I'd taken, but it was different from like hearing about it is way different than actually stepping foot onto the movie set. So like I got to my trailer. I was like, what is life? I'm at the base camp for the movie I'm about to be filming. And then stepping into the makeup trailer was like a whole thing. I was like, what is going on? And then the second I stepped onto the movie set, Marisol actually greeted me and she was like, oh, hi, it's nice to see you. And I started feeling a lot more comfortable. Marisol and Paul were really supportive throughout this whole thing. And yeah. It was very nerve-wracking.
I can imagine. I think, and I find it really interesting what you're saying about it's different hearing about it and you're taking classes and then you actually get there and it's always different. And you are not alone in that. You know, I think every single actor I've ever talked to when they had their first experience on set, no matter how many classes they've taken, they still, it's like, what are we doing? I don't know how this is really going to go. And so it's interesting that even though here you are a young person, you're going through basically the same kind of thing, and that adult actors go through when they're thrown onto their first set. It's always that kind of experience. And I can just imagine, I mean, I have not had that experience. I've actually only been on one TV film set, and they were just filming like a talk show, so it's a little bit different. But so what I would say, though, you are exactly right. You couldn't have asked for a better leading couple for your first.
Literally.
They were pretty amazing. I only know of Marisol. That really, my introduction to her was Riverdale, because I was a huge Riverdale fan, and I just absolutely loved her. And then she got to do like a Hallmark movie last year, which was really good. Then of course, since I work for Paul, of course, I'm always hearing everything and watching, but watching both of them, they were so supportive of you. They would post in their stories all about you. Every time I turn around, it's like, I'm watching to see what's going on in the filming. And they've got videos of you playing music, playing the guitar, singing, and they're just raving about you. And it's so great to see two seasoned actors that would do that for a young person. I was very impressed.
Yeah, I felt really lucky because I was expecting to like be like only ever talk to them when I'm like on like when we're actually filming. But I just felt so grateful that I got to work with two amazing people. And they've really, really helped me on this whole experience.
That's good. I'm glad. I'm so glad that you had a very positive first experience. Usually with Hallmark, that's the way it goes. I'm not going to say absolutely every single Hallmark set is like that, but basically all the ones I've ever heard of, almost without exception, they're like that. And young people are really well cared for on the Hallmark sets. And so you also got to sing and play the guitar in the movie.
I did.
Which is really awesome. The funny thing is that Paul Greene, who is a musician, has only gotten to do that on one episode for a short time of an episode on Hallmark. The movies, he hasn't even gotten to play the guitar and sing. So, he's a musician. He's released albums, and here you are, which I'm so glad. I just think it's really amazing. Here you are. They gave you this opportunity. They gave you a gorgeous song, and you sang it so well. And I know that Paul was so impressed with you because there was a story about you putting the strings on the guitar, if I remember right.
Yeah, he was. For my wrap gift, he got me new strings on my guitar because I've had that same guitar for about 3 years and I never changed the strings once. So he bought me new strings and he actually taught me how to string my guitar, which was, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that.
That's good. That's cool. I know he was very impressed. He kept talking about how, yeah, she was able to put the strings on her guitar. I taught her how to do it. She did it. And that was cool. He was impressed by that because I'll be honest, I wouldn't know how to string a guitar. I remember I remember in college, because I was a music major, I remember having to string a cello. That was learning putting a string, replacing a string on the cello. That was quite something. It was quite an experience. But that's cool that you were able to do that. So in filming, so you were there for about a month. So are there any behind the scenes stories that really stand out during the filming of Christmas CEO?
Oh my gosh. There's so many, but I can't remember any off the top of my head. I have this like every morning and every night after coming back from set or before going on set, I'd make a little video diary on my phone. So I'll have to look through those and see if I can find anything. I do remember this one time, I think it was the third day I was there, I was very nervous because I had this big scene, and I actually don't think that it made it into the movie, but it was this scene where Emma was nervous about playing the guitar and singing in front of people. And she was talking to her aunt about it. And I was really nervous because I had a lot of lines in that scene and there was a lot of emotion to portray. And Marisol just gave me the most amazing advice that I could have ever asked for. She was just so supportive and she like empathized with me and everything. So that's just a moment that I'll never forget.
That's cool. Yeah, it's true that as a young person in movies, sometimes the characters, we only see them for like 5 or 10 minutes. You were a real integral part of this film. You had a very significant role, almost. I think that I don't know how it always gets broken down, but I'd almost put you on the same level as being really a supporting cast member, not just. I don't know if that's how they break it down in the movie, but your character was such a strong part of that film, and we saw you so much more than we sometimes do young people. So that was really cool. And you held the emotions. Speaking of emotions, you portrayed those emotions exceptionally well. I just want to say you did a great job. It came across so well as we were watching it. You were an absolute delight to watch. I think I remember the scene where your character's getting ready to sing, and then you're singing. And literally that scene just like stole the movie. As far as I'm concerned, I love Paul, I love Marisol, but Veronica, you stole that scene, and you are the part. If I think back on Chris's CEO, that was easily my favorite scene over any of them. That particular scene, because it just, I don't know, there was just something about the way it all worked, and they did not upstage you at all. You were center stage, and you owned it. You owned that scene. So very, very good. Very good on you. That was really neat. And I remember thinking that when I was watching, I was just like, wow, this girl definitely has what it takes to continue and really be a major player as you continue to get more experience. So, and as you get older. So I've interviewed a lot of people in the industry over the past few years, and a lot of young people, and I'm watching you. I am watching because I'm pretty sure you've got quite a career ahead of you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So were you guys able to watch this film in Canada? Did it come on Canadian TV?
Yeah, we were. I think we watched it on, it might have been Stack TV that had the movie on
W Network.
On W Network. There's like on Stack TV they have W Network, so we were actually able to watch it. And I'm pretty sure some people in Canada, my friend from school, she actually told me that she got to watch it on W Network. So
okay. So did you guys have a big party, like a watch party, when you were watching it?
Yeah, we had actually the people who played my parents, Amanda Martinez and Bert Cardoza, they came over, and Amanda brought her family and Bert brought his wife, and we had like this nice party. We had Venezuelan food, and we all watched it together, and it was really sweet.
Oh, that's cool. So since you do go to, it's a regular school that you go to, like it's a public school that you go to, how was that? Have there been any issues? Now I know things are different because of COVID, and I know sometimes there's not always in-person school. I don't know how all that. I'm sure you went through that. I know my daughter went through that with all the lockdowns and everything. But with going to school and then being an actor, how has that been as you has that impacted your schooling at all?
A little bit. Well, it was it was definitely different. I was doing in-person school, right? Like I had done maybe 2 weeks of school before I had to leave, before I had to leave to Ottawa. So I had a tutor, and it was all through Zoom, and my teachers would just go on, like, there's virtual classroom, Google Classroom, and they would post the work that we did. It was definitely different, and I did have a lot of catching up to do when I got back, but it was definitely better than having to like completely miss everything. And well, coming back was obviously a big change. There were, I think I had a test maybe a week after I came back, and I didn't know anything that was on it. But it was definitely different than what I'm used to.
Yeah, I can imagine. I guess what's good, the positives I could see now is we're kind of we're not quite post COVID. I mean, I guess we're not. I don't know if we'll ever be. I hope the day comes when we're completely through the pandemic. I know things continue to change, but the good thing probably is that schools have had to make all these adjustments for online schooling. And so in some ways you may have benefited from that, only because a lot of the young people I talked to before all the COVID stuff happened, they either were doing homeschooling or they'd have to miss schooling, then they'd have to make up the work when they got back. So it's good that, I guess it's good that that can be a potential positive, that maybe you had to make up work when you got back, but maybe you didn't have quite as much to make up as you might have, because I know sometimes that can be an issue. So what is it like? What do your friends think of you being in this movie? What was that like?
A lot of them were excited. Like people that I didn't even talk to, they were like, "Oh my gosh, congrats!" But like my close friends were obviously really excited for me, and I actually had one friend that was like, "Oh, okay," which was super refreshing, because it wasn't like, "Oh my gosh, you're in a movie, how was it?" She was just like, "Oh, sick, I'm proud of you." That was it. And honestly, I think I'm more happy with that reaction than like everyone being like, "Oh my gosh, you're in a movie, that's so..." Because it's just like, it's a normal thing for me, but I sometimes forget that like that's not a thing for other people. And yeah, it was definitely different. There's definitely people that I never spoke to that are now talking to me, friends with me. But I'm also glad that I've got that, like, some people that I hadn't got the chance to speak to before have started talking to me, because I've actually made more friends through conversations, which is always a positive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I actually understand what you're talking about, because now that I get to meet, I have a lot more friends or people that reach out to me because I have all these actor friends, and of course I've met so and so, or you met so and so, and how but I do understand what you're saying about, it's nice when you just have you're not the actors, but the friends who are like, "Oh, that's cool, yeah, that's it," and like they don't make a big deal of it. They're happy for you, they're proud of you, but then you're also, but also, just because you got to be in a movie doesn't suddenly mean that you change into this different person and that now you have this glamorous life, because as we know, film and TV, it doesn't mean that you suddenly have this glamorous life and all these things.
Yeah, and I think it's important for more actors to, talk about, just living a normal life. I don't, like, on social media, I know a lot of people try to like make their life seem more glamorous, but I think it's important to show that I'm just a normal kid. I'm a normal person. I go to school. I have friends. I do local community theater. And that I think it's important, because like not actors are like these super glamorous people who have like everything in their life is perfect. I think it's normal to be a regular human being.
I love that you said that. That is probably, may be, Veronica, that may be my favorite thing you've said so far. I love you saying, I wish more actors would do it, because I would, yeah, exactly. I think because I know before I started interviewing all these actors, I had this idea too that, oh, actors just, they live this glamorous life and they're always going to parties and oh, you got to be in a movie and then they stop. Then you have this idea of, oh, well, they don't do normal things anymore. Which actually they do. They still live their lives and they still get up. You know, they still, what is it? You still put your pants on the same way. And I mean, there's all these different things that, you know, you'll hear, but that's really cool. That shows again just how grounded you are. Your parents have definitely raised you right. And so kudos to your parents as well. They have done a good job in raising you. And I don't, yeah, exactly. I'm saying the parents don't always get the credit, but I always want to make it a point, especially since I'm a mother. I totally get it. And so, yeah, that's good. I did want to ask about, so you also do care packages for people in Venezuela. Is that what I understand? Can you tell us more about
that? My family, my parents and I, we take donations, usually just local donations like gently used clothing, old toys, like, you know, those little toothbrush and toothpaste that you get from like the dentist. Lots of people don't use those, so we take those and we make them into little care packages for people in Venezuela who might not have those things available. And we usually send them through our family or through family friends, shipping. And there's also a local organization called the Safety Net, where we give what we don't use. And usually that's like stuffed animals, toys, or like old cooking things that people might not have the access to. Also hotel toiletries, lots of people don't use that. Literally anything that might not be available, we bring. And yeah, it's always nice to give to other people.
So how long have you been doing this?
Oh, since we moved here, I guess.
Wow.
I wasn't really a part of it until like recently, especially because we moved, so we have a lot more things to do.
Right.
So.
Wow. Well, how cool that you're doing something like that. You're a young person, you're doing that, and that you guys are doing it. Was this just an idea that your parents started on their own and then you just joined in, or was it because of this organization? Was it an organization that they got involved in?
I think it was more about our family at home, what they needed, and my mom has actually been doing a lot of research into humanitarian needs. I am very interested in like human rights, things like that, like social justice, all those things. So I think it was more of a collective thing, but it was really based off of our family at home.
Oh, cool. Well, I commend you all for doing that. That is amazing. It warms my heart to know that people are doing that kind of thing, and that and it's great that you're doing it at your age, because it means you're just going to continue to do it, and you're going to continue to bring and hope. And as you become more active in film and TV, you'll even have more of a platform where you can really make these needs and make other people aware of these needs. So that's fantastic.
Yeah. That was actually really important to me when I first got into acting. It was less about the whole, I want to be on TV. It was more about, obviously, acting is one of my, like, it's a huge passion of mine, especially because I've been doing it since I was like 2 years old. But it was important for me that I would also be able to get a platform to talk about these things, especially because at school and in my community, it's hard to be heard. I remember trying to, start up a fundraiser at school for the people at home, and I was told that couldn't be possible. So, being able to do this through other causes and now having a platform to talk about that is super important to me.
Well, that's awesome. See, I knew there was something special about you, and the more I get to talk with you, Veronica, the more I realize just how special and how incredible and just how amazing you are. So, I mean, and you truly are. If I'm sure people tell you that, but I just want to let you know, I see it. I definitely see it. So, all right. I'm sure that we have some questions from our audience members. So let me see who might want to go first. Oh, Paula Waters. Oh, perfect. I will bring you on. All right.
Hey there, Veronica. I just want to say when I watched, I looked at you as a seasoned actress. You were that good.
Thank you.
And that's not a lie. And the question I have is when you watched it with your friends and family, did you critique yourself or did you go back after, watch it alone and kind of go over your role to learn anything?
I definitely did. I think that's something that every actor does. I watched it back and I was kind of like, oh, I could have delivered that line differently. Or like, oh, I should have done this instead. Or, oh, now I understand what they were saying about this. And it was kind of weird to watch it with my friends, especially because I know that they're super honest people and they wouldn't be scared to tell me what they thought. But I think as long as I thought what I was doing at the time was right, I think that's all that matters. And clearly people liked it.
Good answer.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's a good question.
Veronica. Well, I was very impressed with your acting in Christmas CEO. I thought in a few places you actually stole that show. You were very good. And I was just interested in knowing what's on the horizon for you. Do you have anything in the works when we will see you next? Or is there a possibility? Do you want to stay with Hallmark? Would you like to stay with Hallmark?
I think I would be grateful to work on anything. Obviously, I had such a great experience with Hallmark, but I do want to be able to branch out into so many different things, Obviously, I'm still waiting for COVID to be over because that's a whole situation. I think it'd be cool to branch out into other things. And obviously, there's so many dream roles that I have. And obviously, not staying in just film and TV, I'd love to do stage acting as well. Actually, locally, I'm doing a film study class, and I just did a musical at the local theater. So, there's a couple different things, but who knows? Maybe you'll see me in something else soon.
I hope so. I hope so. I hope we see you on film pretty soon. If you like the stage, that's good too. Would you like to do a musical? Is it a musical or anything?
I love to do a musical. I think that they're so fun, especially musical movies. I love musical movies. But Broadway is always a huge dream of mine. I'm still young, so I never know what could happen. But I think anything, I would be so happy to work on anything.
That's cool. Good. I hope that all those opportunities arise for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I hope we see you something else real soon.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. You only get that first once, and this was your first movie. What was it like standing in front of that trailer that had your name on it?
It was so surreal. I for a second I was like, am I dreaming? Is this like actually real? And like it was crazy. I never thought that, like, obviously I knew that I wanted to do acting, but I never thought that it would happen so soon. So, like stepping in front of that trailer, it had my name on it, and I was like, oh, okay, this is like an actual thing that's happening. Like it's but then the next 3 weeks were blur, and by the end of it I was like, so it like actually I just filmed a movie. That's crazy. And then watching it was even more surreal. I still can't believe that it happened.
And your reaction when you actually saw your first time the critics, the name, on when they finished the movie, the rope,
Yeah, it
Well-
went like really quickly. I saw it for like a split second, and I was like, "That's my name. That's me."
Yeah, that's so awesome. Now, do you have any other like hobbies that you really like to do when you're just in your downtime? That's just to break away your mind from all your studies and.
Yeah, well, I obviously really enjoy singing and guitar, but I also enjoy cooking. Cooking is really like fun and therapeutic for me. Art, like painting, I do a lot of painting and drawing, things like that. Just simple things to keep my mind off of, school or like the pressures of, waiting for auditions and things like that.
My other question is thinking with having to do with the first, but you kind of answered it. You have to go back and look at your tapes or your little videos that you did and cut and come up with your first memorable experience. That one thing that hit you so hard when you were first on the set, because that would be important. Interesting to hear. You're such a young child and you have, I hope, a happy future, but you only get that one first. Mm-hmm. And you got to remember, what was that one thing?
Yeah, I think it might have been actually like when Jonathan yelled like action for the first time, and I was saying my lines. I was next to Marisol. I was walking up to the school and I was like, oh, okay, so I'm filming a movie right now. And when I got home and did my little video diary, I was like, I was so excited, and it was like I wanted to remember everything from this movie, and obviously if I could relive it, I would, because it was such an amazing experience.
Well, God bless. I hope we get to see much more of you.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. Those are awesome questions. Thank you, Paula. Wow. That you honestly gave me chills when you were sharing that story. Just the story, because I understand what you're saying about that. That had to be surreal. You're filming a movie, like you're actually filming a movie. I kind of know that feeling. I've not filmed a movie, but I know how it feels when I'm actually doing something that you've dreamed of for all these years, and then you're actually getting the chance to do it. So I was thinking those video diaries, you should go through and take a look at them, and you should edit them all together and have them as a special memory. Even if you never release them and they're just for you, it'd be really cool so that you have them all put together. That might be a cool thing.
Yeah.
That would be neat. Those kinds of things are neat memories to look back on, and then you never know. You might share them. You might share it when you're older, or who knows? You might never know. I was going to ask you: are you planning on doing an album or anything like that? I mean, do you write music, or
I try to write music, but it's really hard coming up with ideas. And also I have this thing that, like, I'm sure a bunch of other people who write music, they're like, oh, I got that's already a song. So I do want to take like classes to be able to write music, because I think it'd be really cool to like start writing my own things, especially because I've been doing more covers, but I think it'd be cool to do something of my own. I think it'd be fun.
I think you could bring a very unique sound and perspective that's not out there, because you're Hispanic, born in the you're from Venezuela, but born in the USA. You live in Toronto. You've done the acting. I mean, and you really could. I think that you have a very unique voice and a unique perspective, and we'll look for it. We'll look for one of these days in the not too distant future. Veronica releases an album. She writes her own music. She releases the album, and then she just goes on to not only be an actress, but she's a singer and musician, and then she does all this humanitarian work, and she's just this amazing person. So So, well, I was curious because I just thought that you're such a gifted musician at your age, especially. I can only imagine, give yourself a few years of studying and you're gonna kill it, no doubt.
Yeah.
So is there anybody else who wanted to ask a question? Because actually, you all who asked questions, you covered some of the questions that I was thinking of asking, but you guys asked them, so that was great, and that's what I love. Okay, go ahead, Timmy.
Yeah, so most of the questions I wanted to ask have already been answered, but I was just wondering if you have any idols, anyone you look up to. It could be a musician, an actor, a public person, public figure.
Yeah, well, there's a couple. I have always looked up to an actress named Olivia Rodrigo, who is actually a singer, and she has this huge hit album that she released when she was 18, which is like really young. And I've always looked up to her because I just think that she has such an amazing voice and she's such an amazing actress. But also, there's this actress who has actually been like a couple things. Her name is Xochitl Gomez, and she's another Latina teenager who is actually debuting in a Marvel movie soon. And for those of you who don't know, I'm a huge Marvel fan, a huge superhero movie fan. And so she's making a debut in one of the biggest Marvel movies. So I look up to her a lot because not only she's an amazing actress, but she's like living her dream and she's representing the Hispanic community. Teenage girls all around are, looking up to her. So definitely Xochitl Gomez.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing what's next in store for you.
Thank you.
That's cool. Well, I'm glad you asked that, Timmy. That gave us some more information. Veronica, I just love the fact that I mean, I still cannot believe that at this age you're this accomplished, you're this well spoken, you're this successful. I know people define success in lots of different ways, but as far as I'm concerned, you are successful. You have, I know you've got lots of dreams and we're going to see great things from you, but I mean, my goodness, to be at your age and do all that you've done and to just, I mean, I don't feel like I'm talking with a teenager. I feel like I'm talking with a young adult, and you're just, it's no wonder that Marisol and Paul think so highly of you, because I see it now. I mean, I trusted them for what I see, but after talking with you and just the way you present yourself, I'm so glad that we got the chance to have this interview. You've been an amazing guest. I had absolutely loved having you, and so thank you very much.
Lovely. Thank you so much for having me. This has been a lot of fun.
Good, I'm glad. So as we wrap things up, if any of you, if you guys want to unmute and express your appreciation to Veronica, feel free. You can do that.
So good, Veronica. What would you say is the favorite quality you have of Paul Greene? You spent 4 weeks with him. What's your favorite quality about Paul? Because there's a lot of Paul fans on here.
I'm surprised that wasn't your first question.
Yeah, I thought about that.
He's so sweet. He is and very supportive. I think that's one of my favorite things about him. He's so supportive, and he helped me with my nerves being on set, my nerves performing for the first time, like guitar and singing in front of a bunch of background actors, which was very nerve-wracking. I just think that he's such a supportive and kind person, and obviously an amazing actor.
Exactly. Well, yeah, that was a good question. I know I hadn't asked that, so I'm glad Paula asked. Thank you, Paula. But if you guys would like to express your appreciation to Veronica before we leave here, go ahead. You can thank her or say goodbye or whatever you want to say.
Thanks for this chat, Veronica. It was really good to get to know you a little better.
Thank you.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing you in your next adventure. Hopefully we get to see you pretty soon.
Yeah.
Best wishes. I hope you get to do a musical, because I would love to see that.
And thank you Thank you all very much. All of you are supportive. Thank you for coming out to support Veronica, to support me, and thank you, Veronica. Thanks to your mom as well, and to your dad, of course, as well. So, all right, have a great day. Great.
And keep doing Canada. Keep doing Canada proud.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, I would be remiss if I did not say, now, I love Veronica. I absolutely adore this podcast. I loved every aspect of it. But I do have to say, I would not have known just how amazing Veronica was without the endorsement of Marisol Nichols and Paul Greene. So I do have to say thank you to both of them for highlighting this amazing young woman that they got to work with. And I just want to thank both of Veronica's parents for being willing to set this up, and Veronica for being such an amazing young person. So well spoken, so kind, so patient. You have no idea how many interruptions happened that particular day, and she was a true professional. So this girl, she's going somewhere. And I want to thank every one of you for tuning in, whether you were there when we first recorded it, or whether you're listening or watching now. Speaking of, if you are listening, watching, I would so appreciate it if you're on Apple Podcasts, if you would rate, review, follow. It'd be fantastic. If you're watching this on YouTube, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. That would be wonderful. I want to continue to bring you podcasts like this that are highlighting amazing people in the film industry, TV industry, books, whatever the case might be. You know, people have a story to tell. I want to highlight them. So thank you all for tuning in. Maybe I'll see you on a podcast recording in the near future. You can join my Facebook group, and you are always invited. So, thank you so much, and God bless all of you. Have a wonderful day, afternoon, night, weekend, whatever it might be.